Hi there! Welcome to episode 30 of the WaveBack Music Podcast. Today's episode will be featuring music from the Mario Kart series for the Super NES, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, Wii, and Wii U. Enjoy! Hello again, this is the WaveBack Music Podcast. My name is Kris.
And I'm Vicky.
Yes, she is. And we're here to talk to you about some of the most interesting video game music there is. And oh man, I am all manner of excited for this one. I actually typed "oh man" in my notes. That's how serious I am about being excited about this. This is going to be an all-comparison episode, and it's going to show off some truly amazing musical evolutions. Start your engines, grab your banana peels, because tonight we are listening to the music from the Mario Kart series. So, I've wanted to do an episode on Mario Kart 8 for a while, since it's got an absolutely incredible soundtrack. What makes it so incredibly unique is that it's almost the entire thing was recorded with live instruments, which gives it a remarkably unique sound, because most Nintendo games up until this generation really relied on MIDI instruments, and live instruments are incredible. So, an important fact about the Mario Kart games is that ever since the third entry in the series, every new Mario Kart game includes remade tracks from previous games. This often leads to some extremely interesting music, like Game Boy Advance renditions of the entire Super NES game soundtrack, or modern instrument sets on the Wii, playing music from the Nintendo 64 game. But, Mario Kart 8, there was a live band playing some of the coolest tunes in one of the biggest franchises in Nintendo's arsenal for the very first time, and as much as I love the new tunes that Mario Kart 8 features, I haven't been able to stop listening to the retro courses since the game came out. So I thought it would be fun to do some side-by-side comparisons with between the new Mario Kart 8 versions of these songs and their original counterparts. Now, this game has a huge soundtrack, so you will most certainly be hearing from Mario Kart again in the future, so don't worry if we skipped your favorite song. We will probably come back to it at some point. This is just a fun Mario Kart primer. We will probably eventually get to the majority of these games just having their own episodes, because there's so much good stuff. So, on with the episode. Vicky, hit us with some history.
The first game in the Mario Kart series was Super Mario Kart for the Super NES in September of 1992.
Excellent year.
It basically invented the kart racer genre, which has been emulated in games like Crash Team Racing, one of my favorites of all time, Diddy Kong Racing, Mod Nation Racers, and many more. But as good as many of those games are, nobody does Mario Kart quite like Mario Kart. And since it was successful, it's had many sequels over the years. In 1996, Mario Kart 64 for the Nintendo 64 took the franchise into proper 3D for the first time. In 2001, Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance gave gamers their first portable Mario Kart experience. In 2003, Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube gave players their first taste of cooperative karting. In 2005, Mario Kart DS took the racers online for the very first time. In 2008, Mario Kart Wii for the Wii immersed players with the optional motion-controlled steering, which I didn't like too much.
Yeah, I usually stuck with the regular controllers too. However, I will always be indebted to the motion controls because they got my wife into the game in the first place. She started on the motion controls because it was so easy to pick up and understand, and then eventually she moved on to a controller, and now she's a Mario Kart fiend. Thank you, motion controls.
That's awesome. In 2011, Mario Kart 7 gave racers hang gliders and propellers, making air and water travel part of the race like never before. And in 2014, Mario Kart 8 brought the series into HD and introduced anti-gravity sections. There's even been all manner of Mario Kart merchandise, including plush toys, RC cars, and 3 arcade releases co-developed by Namco, and featuring playable characters from the Pac-Man universe. What do all these games have in common besides great gameplay? Great music, of course.
That's absolutely right. Now, tonight I chose 5 tracks from 5 different games to listen to. We've got music from Super Mario Kart, Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Mario Kart Double Dash, and Mario Kart Wii, as well as all of their Mario Kart 8 incarnations. We'll get to the individual composers as we get to their individual tracks, but the soundtrack from Mario Kart 8 was done by Atsuko Asahi, Shiho Fuji, Ryo Nagamatsu, and Yasukai Iwata. No, How do you say that one?
Yasuaki.
Yasuaki Iwata. I don't think there's any relation to Satoru Iwata. Let's see. Atsuko Asahi is a younger composer whose first music credit I could find was on the original Steel Diver for 3DS, but she has also worked on Pikmin 3, Animal Crossing New Leaf, and even Wind Waker HD. Shiho Fuji is another young woman who has worked on some pretty high-profile Nintendo projects, including Wii Fit, Skyward Sword, and some of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, and the immensely cool Splatoon. Ryo Nagamatsu has worked on games like Wii Sports Resort, Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is, oh, what a great soundtrack, and the 3DS Zelda games Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes, which also has some great music in it. And finally, Yasuaki Iwata has only 2 music credits to his name, as far as I could tell, but they're pretty big winners with Mario Kart 8 and the superb Super Mario 3D World. Now I'm going to go ahead and assume that the both of us have played a lot of Mario Kart in our day and skip over the portion where we talk about our history. Is that cool with you?
Yep, that's fine with me.
Yes, we've both played Mario Kart. Everybody's played Mario Kart. Let's get on to the music. So, first song. We're going to start with the oldest song in the library. This is going to be Donut Plains for the Super NES. This was composed by Soyo Oka, who you've heard from on the show before. She did the music to the Super NES version of SimCity, which we did an episode on. She did the music to the original Pilot Wings, which I really want to do an episode on. And the original Ice Hockey for NES, where you got to choose between the skinny and the fat people. It was great. Great music, wonderful composer, and she did an extraordinary job on the Super NES Super Mario Kart soundtrack. So let's listen to the Super NES version first. This is Donut Plains from Super Mario Kart. That was Donut Plains from Super Mario Kart. I've always loved that song. I love the Super Mario Kart soundtrack in general. It's just so quirky and fun. It was really different from anything else that had been in a Mario game before it. Yet it was still very distinctly Mario flavored. It was also extraordinarily 90s with that whistling sound effect that happened that like sounds like someone's blowing into a sports whistle all the time.
Adorable.
It really is just precious.
It felt more like an island theme instead of like the plains land where it's located.
Yeah, I could definitely hear that. With that
the
whole whistle thing is a very tropical thing, and this it's just, I guess, a sign of the times because that kind of stuff was really popular at the time. But I really like this. This was really interesting because this was obviously a song that I had listened to the longest. I mean, this was back in '92, and I've been listening to this music ever since. And when they redid this one for Mario Kart 8, I was really excited to hear what instrumentation they would use because I knew they were using real instruments. And this, honestly, the Mario Kart 8 version sounds so much different than I expected it to. Have you spent any real time with the original Super Mario Kart?
No, I haven't played the original one. The first Mario Kart I played was the N64.
I found that really to be the case. And like Super Mario Kart was really, really popular, but I found that a lot of people have never really gone back and played the first one, or even really played it when it came out. I guess a lot of people I know their first Mario Kart game was Mario Kart 64, which I find very interesting because it's really neat because they've pulled things from this version into future versions. Like Mario Kart 64 was a big departure in a lot of ways. It didn't have coins in it, whereas Super Mario Kart did. Super Mario Kart was always in split screen mode. Mm-hmm. Like there is no full screen mode, even if you're playing one player. It's
really?
Half screen on the top and the map on the bottom. It's so bizarre. And there's a lot of really interesting course design. And so whenever they take these courses, which were all completely flat in the Super Nintendo game, whenever they take them and move them into a 3D space and add all these weird little tricks and stuff to them, is always super interesting to me. So now let's listen to the upgraded version, which has such a great instrument selection. Again, totally different than I imagined it would be. It's ever so slightly more chill. I think it's a bit slowed down, but it's really absolutely gorgeous and fantastic. So here is Super NES Donut Plains 3 from Mario Kart 8. I love that so much. That was the Mario Kart 8 version of Donut Plains 3. Vicky, how do you feel about that one?
I'm glad they kept that whistle.
I know. It was so cool when they threw that in there. It's because they do some neat dynamic tricks with the soundtrack in Mario Kart 8. Is like if you're in first place and you're playing single player, it adds like extra drums. And the way they attack that in Donut Plains is they just toss the whistles back in. It's like, yes!
They also had the keyboard and
the keys. That was the one that threw me off because I never thought about that main melody in the Super Nintendo version as being keys, but it's totally a keyboard. It's totally that.
And I think they had like an acoustic guitar and a Spanish guitar.
That's what it sounds like to me. And also like the kind of the bongo drums and stuff they had going on lightly in the background. Mm-hmm. I've always just been so fascinated with hearing old chiptune video game music played with real instruments. And a lot of the times it's like, guitar covers and whatnot. And when this band, these guys got together and attacked this music, it's so incredible. They did such a remarkable job of really paying homage to the original ones and just really just bring them into high energy, gorgeous, amazing live music. It's really this soundtrack. Nintendo did a lot of this in the Wii U era with, obviously Splatoon just being a lot of, live electric guitars and stuff. Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, like, it even started a bit back in Mario Galaxy 2, but they were just adding these live instruments to things, and it sounds so good. So good. All right, let's move on to track number 3. This is from Mario Kart Double Dash, which is the GameCube game. This is kind of like the primary course song, like regular racetrack song, because the Mario Kart 64 and Double Dash, they did a lot of reusing music. So this played for Luigi Circuit, Mario Circuit, and Yoshi Circuit. And this is got to be one of the catchiest tunes. This song gets stuck in my head all the time. And it has been stuck in my head for at least like 2 or 3 days now, just constantly running nonstop, which is really great when I'm driving because it makes me want to drive really fast. Which is never necessarily the right thing to do. But All right, so let's jump right into it. This is, let's just for the sake of argument, just call it Yoshi Circuit from Mario Kart Double Dash for the Nintendo GameCube. This soundtrack was actually done by two people: Shinobu Tanaka, who was known for Luigi's Mansion and Super Mario Sunshine, and Kenta Nagata, who worked on stuff like Wind Waker and 1080 Snowboarding.
Yay.
So I believe you'll hear at least one of those names again before this episode is over. And now that we have properly credited it, here we are, Yoshi Circuit from the GameCube game Mario Kart Double Dash.
I know why you liked that song so much.
Why is that?
The trumpets.
I just like that. It's so catchy. It's such a good melody. It is so much fun.
At first, I thought you were whistling along, and I'm like, oh my god, he's amazing.
No, I'm not that good. I love that. That was a real trademark thing from the whole Double Dash soundtrack, was that whistling sound. So I was really super happy when they kept it in the Mario Kart 8 version, which we're going to listen to momentarily. This one here, first off, Double Dash, until Mario Kart 8 happened, Double Dash was my favorite Mario Kart. I love that game. It's so interesting. It's so unique throughout the whole Mario Kart franchise, with the whole having two characters on your cart at the same time. It was just super good. This is one of those songs that I didn't realize how much better it could be until I heard this new version. Because that sounds pretty good. It's using high quality instrument samples. It was a GameCube game, so it was using like really high quality sound. And then this came along and it just blows it out of the water. It's got so much energy to it. It's so good. This is actually from one of the DLC packs. Mario Kart had such great DLC packs in it. So there, let's go ahead and listen to it. Here is the Yoshi Circuit from Mario Kart 8. Enjoy. Yes.
That little guitar is so precious.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, just the intensity of this by making it into real horns. There's no comparison between MIDI and real instruments. There's just not. Oh man, how much more energetic is this?
A lot more. It was very surprising. I like how they slip in like random horn instruments. Like there was the tuba at one part.
Yeah, or it's either a tuba or a really like deep saxophone, something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I forgot about the saxophone.
It's so jazzy, and they got the little wah pedal going on. I mean, to quote Tom Servo, any song with Waka Chawaka in it is good by me.
Waka Chawaka.
It was oh man, when they announced the DLC pack and I heard this song, it just blew me away. It's so good. It's just ridiculous. It's like I said, I never realized how much better that GameCube song could be until I heard this version of it. And they kept the whistling in there too. So.
Any song with Yoshi as the main character in it is fine by me.
That's right. Any Yoshi-based music is a winner. Oh goodness. Okay, this next one is probably, in my opinion, the most interesting set of tracks that we're going to listen to. This is Cheese Land from Mario Kart Super Circuit for Game Boy Advance. Now, the Game Boy Advance soundtrack was done by a handful of folks. We've got Kenichi Nishimaki, who worked on Tetris Attack for Super NES and WarioWare, among other things. Tetris Attack Super NES. That's a really good soundtrack. That's on my short list. Let's see. We also have Masanobu Matsunaga. Boy, I almost got that one. Masanobu Matsunaga, who also worked on the WarioWare series and did some work on Smash Bros. Brawl. And Minako Hamano, who worked on Link's Awakening DX and Super Metroid, as well as several other of the other Metroid games after that. She's a great composer. Super Metroid, good music. So those three were more or less responsible for the Game Boy Advance one. The reason I think this is such an interesting track, this pair of tracks, is because this is by far the most improved. When I played the Wii U version of the Cheeseland track, I didn't realize how much I liked this song. Like, I didn't even remember that I knew the song, but I'm listening to it, and I just immediately start humming along to the rhythm. Like, wow, I remember this song, and I know this song well, but I didn't remember liking it all that much. And now going back and listening to the original GBA version, because I played a lot of that game, but I hadn't replayed it in a very long time, like since its release. So all this stuff was just tucked away back in my memory. So here is Cheeseland, which is so much fun to say, from Mario Kart Super Circuit. Enjoy. was Cheeseland. Now, Vicky, have you ever played the Game Boy Advance version of Mario Kart?
No. I played the DS one.
Gotcha. I figured I'd ask because I know I'm fairly certain that is the least played entry in the franchise, from what I've come to understand. I mean, it was still a huge success because it was, Mario Kart game on an extremely popular system.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that I know a lot of people didn't play this one. This has a lot in common with the Super Nintendo one. It goes, it's very flat, very 2D, and this was the first game when they started introducing older tracks, and it has the whole Super Nintendo game in it as well. After you beat it, they just redid all the Super Nintendo tracks because it used a really similar graphic system. So,
that was a really cute track.
It was really cute. I was just going to ask you how you felt about that one.
The little birds, that was very funny. It sounded cheeping.
There's a lot of little weird sound effects in this one. It's really kind of, it's Cheeseland. It's just driving through mountains of cheese.
And mice.
And mice. So it was just, this is such a bizarre track. It was
really fun though. It was, I don't know what it's called, but when the beat winds up, it dee. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of those change-ups. And I don't even remember what that's called either. Boy, we're really good at talking about music, aren't we?
Sure we are.
Sure we are. But I know what you're talking about, and it's a really dynamic track. And like I said, I didn't realize how much I liked this song until I heard the new version, which completely blows it out of the water. Again, this is another one of the DLC tracks, and I was so happy to see it because, like I said, I love it when they take the old flat ones and turn them into something really cool in 3D. And they made this course amazing. It's just because in the original one, it's just flat with a bunch of mountains of cheese in the background. And now you're driving through the mountains of cheese. It's so good. It's so good. Prepare your ear holes, ladies and gentlemen, for track number 6, Cheeseland from Mario Kart 8. Enjoy. I said it before, I'll say it again. There's nothing like live horns, man.
They really brought the saxophone back for that one.
Yeah, they did.
It was like, boom, in your face.
I'm not even a huge saxophone fan, but they just, like the little trills and stuff, they really played with that rhythm, that melody, and it's just like, oh crap, that is a really good melody. This is a really good song. And just that kind of disco beat they got rocking underneath it.
Yep.
Oh, it is so energetic. It's so good. How did you feel about that one?
Not as excited as you, obviously. It was a lot of fun. It seems like it could have been like a nighttime theme. Because of, well, whenever I think of like disco or anything like that, I think of nighttime.
Nighttime and neon lights and stuff.
Yep.
You know what? That's a really good point. That would really fit well for something like that, like a nighttime driving stage. That's interesting. Never really thought of that. I tie this so immediately to Cheeseland, which is very sunny and made of cheese. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I cannot believe how much that song is improved by the live instruments. It's really, really quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Even more so than the Super NES game, I thought. Just because, I don't know, it was a more chill song to begin with. It's just got that kind of lazy feeling to it with the keys and whatnot. And this is just killing it with the jazz band instruments. Delightful. Okay, let's move on to the next chunk of tracks. These ones, unfortunately, I did not realize that they had a negative connotation in Vicky's mind, and I hope that we can erase that. We can erase those bad memories from her mind.
Maybe one day.
By just listening to the sheer majesty that is the music of Moo Moo Meadows.
Ugh, sorry.
I liked this track a lot. This is a track from Mario Kart Wii, which is a great game, mostly because not only did it have all of those the motion controls, but it gave you the option to not use motion controls, which is something that some of the later Wii games really should have done but didn't. So in Mario Kart 8, you could play with just the Wii remote, or you could plug in a classic controller and play it like a proper Mario Kart game. And it's a really, really well-done Mario Kart game with a lot of really good original courses in it. And one of those was Moo Moo Meadows, which is a take on the farm theme stage. What was it called in Mario Kart 64? I don't remember. But I think Moo Moo Meadows is a way better course than the one from Mario Kart 64. This song was by Asuka Ota, who worked on New Super Mario Bros. And Twilight Princess, a bunch of other stuff, and Ryu Nagamatsu, who we mentioned earlier, who worked on the Mario Kart 8 soundtrack. Yeah, I like this song a lot. I like this song a lot, and this is another one that I didn't realize how much I liked until the Wii U version came along. When they did a bunch of videos showing off all the new features in Mario Kart 8, and one of the features was the live bands, and they showed off some horns and stuff like that playing it, and then they got to this one, because the music in Mario Kart is very eclectic, as you're kind of piecing together. There's a lot of like regular, horns and dancey type stuff, but then there's all kinds of other weird stuff going on, and the music in Moo Moo Meadows is very fiddle based, and they showed somebody playing a fiddle, the Moo Moo Meadows theme, and my heart just melted. I was like, oh my god, this sounds so good. And then it was a while before I went back and listened to the Wii version really on its own. I downloaded the soundtrack to the Wii game, and I really listened to the music. And it's really a very well done track. But these are string instruments in particular. I would think maybe even more so than horns, are the instruments that suffer the most by being played via MIDI as opposed to being played like a live instrument. And so while I think this song is extremely well composed, and they did really some great work with the instruments at hand, the Wii U version is again vastly superior. But I digress. Let's listen to Moo Moo Meadows from Mario Kart Wii. Enjoy.
and caught me by surprise.
Yeah, it's a remarkably good banjo sound, and again, it's all the string instruments like the guitars and stuff, and they really don't sound terrible. They don't sound real, but they really sound pretty well done. I must tip my hat to them. But it's such a fun sound. The flute combined with the kind of fiddle type instrument they got going on there.
It's super Irish.
It is. It does. It has a very very Irish feel. It's absolutely right. And I just want to listen to the new one.
To it.
It is very much very very Irish jiggy, and we have to move on to the next track because it's just so damn good. This is my favorite track of the night, hands down, and I really do enjoy all the music we listen to, as you can tell from my enthusiasm. But this version of Moo Moo Meadows just gets me every time. It is so full of love. It's so well done, and it really takes a. We'll talk about it after we listen to it. Here is track number 8 of the night, Moo Moo Meadows from Mario Kart 8. Oh, it's so good. You were listening to Moo Moo Meadows, Mario Kart 8. It's so good.
They made it like so much smoother.
It is. It's so beautiful. It's so smooth. The real fiddle, the second verse, when they just kind of go off in a little bit of a tangent instead of repeating the same melody is so gorgeous. And the real acoustic guitars playing in the background. They even put the vibes in the back there. And they're so faded into the background. You're really listening for them. You can hear them, and they just really accent everything so well. This is such a well put together piece of music, and hearing it through live instruments is every time just gets me every time. Love it so much.
I actually don't remember the music from like Mario Kart. I was always too focused on winning.
You know what? That's the thing. I am way more of a Mario Kart fan than I think I give it credit for. Every single game in this franchise, with the exception of Mario Kart 7 for some reason, every single game I played so much more of than most other things at the time. I mean, I beat them backwards and forwards, sometimes literally once they introduced the mirror courses. But I would not stop playing these games until I mastered them to death. I think Mario Kart is so good. I love it so much, and I don't say that enough. And the soundtracks in these games have been kind of uneven as the more modern games came around. I'd say starting with Mario Kart DS, things started getting really sterile as far as the presentation in Mario Kart. A lot of the MIDI instruments they used were very, very clean. There just wasn't a lot of soul into them. The course designs were great. They were still really fun to play. They were very accessible. But the games in the series had been they had a very sterile look to them. Everything was very white, stark backgrounds for the box art and whatnot. And the games before it, like all the way up to the GameCube one, Double Dash, they were all very colorful, and they had these really great original ideas, and they were very soulful. And I think Mario Kart 7, probably the reason I played it the least was because that was really the culmination of the lack of personality in Mario Kart. They had these really, on paper, great level designs, and some of the remade courses from the older games, they looked and sounded really cool, but when Mario Kart 8 hit, there's color everywhere. You look at the cover for the game, and it's just full of color. Yes, the cover is full of cover. Yay me! And that hadn't been the case for quite a while. You know, you look at the cover for DS, 7, and Wii. It's just characters on a white background, and they just injected so much soul into Mario Kart 8. And this song in particular just is so gorgeous. It just really sums that up for me, and I love it. I love it. I do. Do you have anything? How do you feel about this one? I know you have bad memories of being drowned in a lake in Moo Moo Meadows, but just the music alone, how do you feel about this?
I like this music a lot. It was a lot of fun. Irish music is fantastic.
It is, and I don't know why it goes with cows on a farm so well, but it does.
I don't know. Yeah. I was reading the description of this level, and it's like an Irish countryside, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess so, sure.
Really? That's what it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
I never pieced that together.
This is the same music from the N64, right?
No, the farm music in the N64 game is totally different.
Okay.
I made that mistake too when that first came out. I was saying they did the farm music from N64, and I played it for a friend of mine. I'm Josh. I played it for Josh. He was like, I don't recognize this music at all. I'm like, and then I went back and played Mario Kart 64. I was like, oh crap, this is totally different music. This was only in Moo Moo Meadows for Wii, not whatever the farm level is in 64. Which was also a pretty decent song if I remember it correctly. It had a more country hee-haw sound to it than this one does.
It sure did. Yeah. And it had the same music as, what was it? The farm one, Yoshi Valley.
Yeah, with the big egg. That is also remade in Mario Kart 8.
Yep.
That was another DLC level, I think. And it sounds really, really good.
Was it? I thought it was included in the game.
Was it? You know what? It might have been.
Maybe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was in the main game. The course that's shaped like Yoshi, which we talked about, Yoshi Circuit. That was the one that was DLC. Mm-hmm. Silly me. Anyway, great music. Speaking of great music, this is the
hardest track of the game.
This is the easiest Rainbow Road there's ever been, but is also probably my favorite Rainbow Road there's ever been. And this is one of the only instances where I think I may actually prefer the original version to the new version. Not by much, because the new version is great, but there's something remarkably peaceful about the Nintendo 64 version of Rainbow Road. I will never forget the number of times that I would turn out the lights in my room and I would play Rainbow Road on time trials and just go, because this music is so gorgeous. And I'm not a fan of the N64 sound chip at all. There's a lot of N64 music that I don't care for in the least, because it all has this very weird, it's very off-putting trumpety MIDI sound to it, and this is one of those N64 tracks that is just completely avoids that. It is glorious. This stage is wonderful, and the track is so long because the actual course in the game was really long. Like you would just keep that, each lap was just really huge, and that's one of the complaints I have about the newer version of it. But we'll get to that in about 5 minutes. So kick up your heels and enjoy a really long track, because it's impossible not to enjoy it. It's just that good. Here is Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 64. So many great memories. That was, again, Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 64 for Nintendo 64.
That was very pleasant.
It's, you know what, separating it from actually playing a Rainbow Road course, it is a very pleasant song.
Yep.
Because that's the thing about Rainbow Road. Like, the original Rainbow Road on the Super Nintendo game, which they also redid in Mario Kart 8, had extremely stressful music because it was the most evil Rainbow Road imaginable. And then this one, they added walls to it and just made it. It's still kind of a difficult course because it's so long, but there's no constant falling off the sides because there's walls everywhere. But boy, this this track, it really, like I'd mentioned before, my fond memories of just turning this on and listening to it and driving around with those awesome rainbow colors and whatnot. And the reinvention of this course on the Mario Kart 8 is stellar. It's ridiculous how good this looks. There's a giant train flying through space in the background.
I forgot about that.
Stunning. The problem is that they took away the laps. They made it extremely short. You can barely get through one playthrough of the like one loop of the music by the time you're done with the track. It's that short. Because what they did was they took one lap of the course and split it into 3. So instead of doing laps, you just hit 3 checkpoints and then you're done. Which boggles my mind because they clearly put a lot of effort into making this course look gorgeous. And the music is great. The new version of it, it's much more intense. It's much more majestic sounding. Let's just go ahead and listen to it, and we'll discuss afterwards, because that's what we do on this podcast. Here is N64 Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 8. Enjoy. So that was a very different feeling song. I have to apologize. I have to go back and talk about the N64 composer was Kenta Nagata, which we spoke about earlier, worked on the GameCube game. So Kenta Nagata did a remarkable job with a very unique piece of music, and it's gorgeous in the Mario Kart 8 version. It really is. It's there were a couple of things that I just have to point out how much I'm impressed with is first off the way it starts with that very it's a callback directly to the instrument used in the N64 version, that kind of flute opening, and then they turn it into that the just gorgeous, majestic thing. He incorporated the kind of train sound with the more or less, I guess, kind of disco-ish beat they got going on there, and there's those chunks that come in there that really sound like a train track, like really kind of driving in there. But Nagata's original version, there was kind of like towards the end of the loop, there was this really great drum dynamic where it would go into the more the open hi-hat on the upbeats and switch back and forth between that and then just a standard 4/4 beat. And it was a great dynamic. It's one of my favorite parts of the song, and it's completely absent in the Mario Kart 8 version. And it always makes me sad. I don't know why they chose to omit that when they were redoing this, because outside of that, the drums are really well done in the Mario Kart 8 version. I'm rambling. Vicky, help me.
Help. You pretty much said everything. It was a very epic song. It was very different than the original one. That kind of sucks that it didn't, like, if you don't, like, play it long enough, you don't hear the whole song during the actual game.
You get, like,
cut off
one loop, and that is it. That's as far as you get is one loop max, and then it starts over again super fast because you're on the last lap. It just goes by in an instant. And when you've got music this good, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Gotta play to win, man. Play to win.
200cc, you get like 14 seconds of the song and the track's over. Of course, 200cc is absolute madness no matter how you slice it. So.
Yeah, how do people even drive like that?
They don't.
Like, you just fall off instantly.
It pretty much constantly is how that works. 200cc is nuts. Oh, so final thoughts, Vicky. How do you feel about these comparisons?
They're pretty great. I mean, like, I loved how they were able to incorporate all these songs to, like, fit orchestral music. Mm-hmm. What about you, Kris?
Well, I mean, clearly I hate them. No, like I said before, anytime you take one of the fun mysteries about listening to chiptunes is trying to figure out when they were composing this, if they had any actual instruments in mind. Because you listen to stuff like the original Legend of Zelda, like we were talking about. Did they intend it to sound like a flute, or was that's the sound they had coming out of the NES, so that's what they went with? Like, because the instruments were so nebulous, it's really interesting to hear where this stuff comes from. And even as late as the Nintendo 64, when they were using some relatively high-quality MIDI samples, there were still very video gamey sounds. So hearing these very modern interpretations of these songs that pay so much homage, particularly like the Cheeseland one I mentioned before, was just how thoroughly improved that is over the original version, yet still so accurate to it, is really just crazy. There's so much to love about Mario Kart 8. The soundtrack is really high on that list. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, because when we do Mario Kart 8, I want to focus solely on the new music. And as far as the old stuff is concerned, we could easily do another episode just based on comparisons from old music to new, and just listening to how great a job they did with these live instruments and getting them together. I love Mario Kart 8. I love Mario Kart series in general. The arcade games are actually kind of lame. I guess that's why they don't count them in their numbering system. That was another fun thing Mario Kart did. They had all these
throwing shade.
I mean, they did a Super Mario Kart 64, and then they did like Super Circuit and Double Dash, and then they're like 7.
Oh my god!
Screw it. We're just gonna start counting now. Okay, but yeah, they don't count the arcade games in there. The arcade games, they play so differently. They play like arcade games. They're still pretty fun in their own right, but they're the reason don't be too terribly upset that they didn't release them on consoles. Like, if you didn't know there were Mario Kart arcade games, you're not missing a lot. And they're money suckers too. even if you win the race, you have to spend another $1 to play the second race. They eat money like crazy. It is kind of cool rolling around as Pac-Man though in the Mario Kart universe, but it's a high price to pay for racing as Pac-Man.
I like playing as Link in his Cadillac. That's the
like
dream.
putting Link in the Mercedes-Benz car.
Oh yeah, the Mercedes-Benz. That's what it was. That was a Cadillac.
It's so ridiculous. And it's like his horse motorcycle thing.
Oh my god.
It's one of the. They really need to do like a Smash Brothers kart racing game. They just need to say, all right, now Nintendo Worlds in Mario Kart format, like kind of like how Sega did with Sonic and Sega Race All-Star Racing, which is a great. That's the thing, but the Mario Kart clones I mentioned before, like they're pretty much all really good. Like Diddy Kong Racing is great. Konami Crazy Racers is fantastic. Atari Karts is. Well, I don't know. I've never actually played it, but I heard it's pretty fun.
Crash Team Racing, top
Crash
tier.
Team Racing, exactly. That's a great game.
Did you hear they're bringing back Crash Bandicoot? I know. Sorry. Side note.
Side note. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's gonna be in Skylanders. So
what?
I thought that was what it was. Like that's all they showed off at E3. They're like, Crash Bandicoot's back as a playable character in Skylanders. Like, this isn't what I wanted.
No, I thought it was
they're like
an HD remake or something.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're doing the HD remakes too. I forgot about that.
Good.
I just wanted a new game. Like,
no.
Sure, HD remake it, but make a good new Crash Bandicoot.
No. Same thing is going to happen with Spyro. Just going to stay dead.
Yeah. Yeah, Spyro's staying dead forever because Skylanders is such a hit. They're like, here's the new Spyro game. It's called Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure. And then, like, the sequel comes out and, like, who's Spyro? What? It's Skylanders now. Poor Spyro.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right, well, then that's going to be our episode. That's our show. Tune in next time where we'll be doing the first of 2 episodes, which are going to be part of Geekade's 31 Days of Halloween.
Yay.
First up, we'll be listening to the spooky soundtrack of the original classic Castlevania for NES. As always, we would love to hear everyone's thoughts and memories of these games, and we've just made it easier to do so, again, with our new Facebook page, our WaveBack Facebook page. Come, like it, poke it, enjoy it, hug it, share it with your friends. Just search WaveBack on Facebook, and you can find more information about what games we're going to talk about next, and it's a nice, convenient place to leave your thoughts on them. Of course, you can always still send us emails at mail@geekade.com. While you're at it, check out all our social media channels, which you should totally follow, like, and subscribe to if you haven't done so already. And be sure to check out all the other great content we have on our host site over at geekade.com. Thank you again for listening. Vicky, any final words?
I'm sorry that I hate Mario Kart 8 so much. I'll try and like it again.
As long as you like the music, it's okay by me.
It's not my fault.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Good night.
Good night.